Welcome back, each and everyone watching Mama Gasaba Television. Thank you for being with us. You're going to be with me, Kamika Gislin. Now let's kick off the news headlines. Rwanda welcomes Africa's Business Heroes Summit. Transparency International Rwanda flags long-delayed competition as over 1,300 new complaints emerged in 2025. On the international news, U.S. signals major aid review over South Sudan governance failures. Now let's take a short break to be back on the news details. Welcome back. Let's start our news in Rwanda. Today at the Kigali Convention Center, the Africa's Business Heroes Conference, a gathering of African investors, is taking place in its 7th edition. This two-day event brings together more than 1,000 participants, including entrepreneurs, investors, financial advisors, partners, and experts from various sectors across African continent to discuss investment development. During this summit, Rwanda Development Board CEO Julian Muganza shared her remarks on Africa is open to business.
Our national vision places entrepreneurs at the center of social economic transformation. We are building an ecosystem where ideas grow into companies and companies scale into regional leaders. From a robust investment code to a digitized one-stop center for business services, to innovation and production spaces such as innovation hubs, our special economic zones and industrial parks, and the Kigali Innovation City. But policy and infrastructure alone is not enough. The real power lies in the people, and this is why partnership becomes pivotal. To our investors and ecosystem partners here today, we saw many of them on the screen, Africa is open to business. But importantly, it is ready for smart and patient capital. Capital that understands context, sees opportunities, and grows with its entrepreneurs. As another finalist told me, supporting entrepreneurs is not charity. It is the fastest route to economic transformation, job creation, and inclusive growth across the continent. Your presence here is a signal of confidence, but your engagement through partnership, investment, and mentorship is what will truly move the needle. To our entrepreneurs, you're not just building companies. You are reshaping narratives. You are defining what African excellence looks like.
Moving ahead, during the celebration of World Teachers' Day held in Kilehe District under the theme Education is a Profession That Requires Collaboration, the Secretary of State in the Ministry of Education, Claudette Hilele, has urged female teachers to upgrade their skills and move up from the A2 level. Of more than 1,700 teachers in private, government, and government-affiliated schools nationwide, 69% have A2 qualification, and the majority are women. Those with A1 are 10% and A0 are 21%. Turning to the next story, Transparency International Rwanda, through its ERIC Illegal Assistance Project, has reported receiving 1,367 complaints between January and November 2025, largely involving citizens who were not compensated for property affected by infrastructure projects. Over the past 16 years, ERIC has documented more than 53,000 cases, including unpaid compensation, gender-based violence, property rights, disputes, and corruption. Some compensation claims have remained unresolved for over a decade, particularly those linked to power transmission lines installed by the Rwanda Energy Group. As of September 1st, 2025, only 51% of compensation funds worth 82.9 billion Rwandan francs have been paid, while 79.4 billion francs remain outstanding. Transparency International Rwanda Executive Director Apollinaire Mupinganyi criticized long delays as severe negligence that deepen poverty among affected residents. Parliament has asked the Ministry of Finance to ensure outstanding compensation is addressed in the 2026-2027 budget. Now let's take a short break to be back on the international news.
Bakiriya bacu beza, Smart Home yahoze ari Danube Home tubifurije Noheli nziza n'umwaka mushya muhire wa 2026. Muri izi mpera z'umwaka tubafitiye promotion ya 25% discount plus free selected gift. Urugero, uragura intebe kuri discount ya 25% tukakongeza meza cyangwa kabati ka televiziyo cyangwa imisego yo mu ntebe. Uragura igitanda kuri discount ya 25% tukakongeza bed cover cyangwa imisego yo ku buriri cyangwa amashuka. Uragura kandi table à manger kuri discount ya 25% tukakongeza ibisorori cyangwa ibyombo. Si ibyo gusa kandi kuko icyo wagura cyose muri zimera z'umwaka muri Smart Home urahabwa igabanyirizwa rya 25 ndetse ugatombora impano ishimishije. Nuguhera tariki ya 8 kugeza 31 Ukuboza 2025. Icyitonderwa, amategeko n'amabwiriza birakurikizwa. Dukorera KBC Kimihurura, waduhamagara cyangwa ukatwandikira kuri nimero ya telefone ikurikira 0788 90 50 90.
Welcome back. On the international news, the United States has issued a sharp warning to South Sudan, saying it may cut foreign aid after accusing the government of imposing exorbitant fees on humanitarian groups and blocking their operations. Princess Mugisha has more to this story.
A start on the African news where the United States has issued a sharp warning to South Sudan, saying it may cut foreign aid after accusing the government of imposing exorbitant fees on humanitarian groups and blocking their operations. In a statement from the State's Department Bureau of African Affairs, Washington said this action violates South Sudan's international obligation and could lead to review and potentially significant reduction in the United States assistance. The United States is one of the South Sudan's largest donors. Decades of conflict and weak governance have left more than 70% of the country's 11 million people dependent on humanitarian support for food, healthcare, and other basic needs. Washington said this crisis being caused by the poor governance, mismanagement of the public funds, and what it called a predatory practices targeting aid organization. Since South Sudan independence in 2011, the United States has provided over $9.5 million in assistance, while the government has collected $144 billion in oil revenue with little improvement in public services. The United States argued Juba would stop obstructing aid efforts and ensure transparency in public spending. The South Sudanese government has not yet responded. Turning to the international news, where a trafficking the oil tanker skipped after it was seized by the United States of Venezuela to see where it is being taken. BBC verification team is checking out reports of fires breaking out in Russia, one said to be at ammunition factory and another at an oil refinery. After BBC Question Time discussed whether one in 3 children in Glasgow have English as a second language, while looking at the data. Concluding our international news, Russia attacked the Ukrainian port city of Odessa in the south of the country overnight on Friday, damaging civilian infrastructure and leaving parts of the city without electricity and water. Head of the Odessa military administration, Lysak, also said that the residential building was damaged as a result of yet another hostile attack. Russia has intensified its attacks against Ukraine's critical infrastructure, with the arrival of the cold weather in repeat of what Moscow has done as part of its war strategy in previous years. Many Ukrainian cities experiencing extended power outages, with some areas only having electricity for 3 to 4 hours a day. Princess Medishanma Ugwaga Sautili.
As we come to the end of today's news edition, let's mind of the top stories that we talked about. Rwanda welcomes Africa's Business Heroes Summit. Transparency International Rwanda flags long-delayed compensation as over 1,300 new complaints emerged in 2025. On the international news, U.S. signals major aid review over South Sudan governance failures. And this marks the end. Stay tuned.